Halloween night. It was supposed to be perfect. You know the kind I'm talking about. Orange lights wrapped around every fence post, plastic skeletons dangling from porches, their bony limbs dancing in the breeze. The air smelled of caramel and wood smoke, a perfect autumn perfume. I was just adjusting the last flickering candle inside the jack-o'-lantern by our front door. My wife, Clara, stood behind me, and I could see her reflection smiling in the window glass, her face glowing in the warm candlelight. The whole neighborhood looked like something out of a dream. Kids, a blur of colorful costumes, were running from house to house, their laughter echoing down the street. Parents waved from their driveways and every porch light was on, a beacon of welcome. Clara whispered, her voice full of that cozy holiday warmth, "Feels like the whole town came alive tonight." I laughed softly, standing up and brushing the pumpkin guts off my hands. "Yeah, even the pumpkins look happy." We went inside. The house was a golden cocoon, warm and inviting. Soft jazz was playing on the old record player, and more candles flickered on every surface. Dinner was ready, a simple but perfect meal. Pumpkin soup, a good bottle of red wine, and the last glorious piece of Clara's homemade apple pie. Looking out the window, the world outside was a painting. Quiet, magical, and seemingly endless under the starry sky. As we sat down at the table, a sudden gust of wind brushed against the curtains. One of the candles on the windowsill sputtered and went out. Clara looked up, a small frown on her face. "Strange, there's no draft." I shrugged it off, reaching for the wine bottle. But as my hand closed around its cool neck, I paused. My eyes had caught something outside. Standing perfectly still on the sidewalk, under the pale glow of a street lamp, was a small boy in a clown costume. He was just staring at our house, not moving, not laughing. He wasn't even holding a candy bucket, just watching. I blinked, and just like that, he was gone. Vanished into the misty air. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself it was just a trick of the light, but the moment felt heavy, like a stone dropping into a silent pond. We went back to dinner, the conversation flowing easily again, but I couldn't shake the image of the little clown. The clock on the wall ticked steadily onward, its hands creeping toward midnight. "Almost time to blow out the pumpkins," Clara said, her eyes on the front window where the orange lights of our jack-o'-lanterns shimmered faintly through the thickening fog. Then, at exactly 11:59, the lights in our house dimmed. They didn't flicker like they do during a storm. They dimmed, slowly, as if something outside was sucking the very energy from the walls. I got up and tapped the lamp beside the sofa. Power surge, maybe. But before I could even finish the sentence, every single light in the neighborhood blinked in perfect, eerie synchronization. Once, twice, and then froze, stuck in a state of dull, weak light. The jazz music ground to a halt. The fog outside, which had been swirling gently, went completely still. The very air itself seemed to hold its breath. Clara's voice was a sharp whisper in the sudden silence. "Did you hear that?" I frowned, straining my ears. "Hear what? I don't hear anything." She moved closer to the window, her breath fogging the glass. "Exactly. The kids. They stopped." I joined her, my heart starting to thud against my ribs. She was right. Outside, the world had been put on pause. The trick-or-treaters were frozen mid-step. A little girl dressed as a witch had her candy bucket suspended in mid-air. A piece of chocolate caught just as it was about to fall. A man across the street was frozen in the middle of a friendly wave, his smile locked on his face. Even the cheap ghost decorations we'd hung from the oak tree had stopped swaying. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a sudden jarring noise in the crushing silence. I pulled it out. The screen read 11:59 p.m. I glanced at my watch, 11:59. Then at the old grandfather clock in the hall. Its pendulum was still, its hands pointing to 11:59. The world had gone silent. Utterly, unnervingly silent. The sound of the wind was gone. The rustle of leaves was gone. It was a vacuum. And then, a faint ticking began. It wasn't coming from any of our clocks, it was coming from outside. Each carved pumpkin on every porch began to pulse with a faint orange light. It flickered in a slow, deliberate rhythm, like a single, massive heartbeat echoing down the street. Clara's whisper was barely audible. It's counting. I stared through the glass, my own reflection looking back at me, wide-eyed and shaking. Counting what? Tick, tick, tick. Every light in the street, from the houses to the street lamps, blinked once more in unison. And then something truly impossible happened. The fireworks, the ones some teenagers had been setting off down the block, froze mid-explosion. Their colorful sparks hung in the air like a constellation of dying stars, trapped in time. In that frozen, silent world, I saw movement. Not from the people, but from the pumpkins. The soft glow inside them began to twist and bend, warping the cheerful carved smiles into trembling, breathing mouths. Our pumpkin, the one I'd just placed by the porch, visibly changed. Its jagged grin seemed to quiver, and then it exhaled. A small, distinct cloud of mist billowed from its mouth as if it had just sighed. Clara stumbled back from the window, her voice a thread of sound. "Ethan, that pumpkin, it just breathed." A primal, inexplicable urge took over me. I had to know. I reached for the doorknob. Clara grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "Don't," she whispered, her eyes locked on the door. "Please, don't." I hesitated, my hand hovering over the cold brass. And in that moment of indecision, the doorbell rang. A single, clear chime. It echoed through the dead, still air of our house, impossibly loud. But we both knew there was no one outside. We could see the empty porch through the window. There was only the row of breathing pumpkins and our own terrified reflections in the dark glass. And behind those reflections, deep within the darkness of the glass, something else was smiling back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into the darkness. Stay safe out there. When Ethan opened his eyes, the clock beside the bed still said 11:59 p.m. The same orange light from the porch filtered through the blinds, casting long familiar shadows across the room. He sat up, a wave of confusion washing over him. "Clara!" he called out, his voice thick with sleep. She was already awake, sitting at the edge of the bed, her silhouette framed by the window. She stared out into the night, her posture rigid. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was flat, devoid of emotion. "Ethan, it's still the same night." He blinked, rubbing his eyes as if to clear a dream. Then he looked outside. It was all the same. The jack-o'-lanterns on the porch still wore their jagged, glowing smiles. The same thick fog rolled slowly across the same quiet street. And there, frozen in place, were the same indistinct shapes of trick-or-treaters, motionless in the dark. It was a perfect, chilling replica of the night before. Ethan reached for his phone, his heart starting to hammer against his ribs. No signal, no Wi-Fi. The date stared back at him, mocking him. October the 31st. He restarted it, once, then twice. Nothing changed. The digital world had abandoned them. Clara turned to him, her face pale in the dim light, her voice trembling now. I heard the doorbell again, 5 times, just like before. But when I went to check, no one was there. She looked down at her hands, which were shaking uncontrollably. I think someone came inside this time. A cold dread dropped into Ethan's stomach, heavy as a stone. He grabbed the small metal flashlight from the nightstand drawer and moved into the hallway. Every footstep echoed, unnaturally loud, as if the house itself had been hollowed out, becoming nothing but an empty soundbox. The decorations they had put up, little paper bats and hanging skeletons, swayed gently in the still air, dancing to a silent, unseen breeze. As he reached the living room, the TV flickered on by itself, bathing the room in a harsh, colorless glow. It was pure static, a chaotic blizzard of white noise. No channel, no input. Just noise. But through the hiss and crackle, a faint voice began to emerge. It was a whisper, distorted and caught in a loop, repeating the same 4 words over and over. "Keep the lights on. Keep the lights on." Ethan lunged for the power button, plunging the room back into silence. "Clara, pack your things. We're leaving. Now." They scrambled for their jackets and keys, their movements frantic and clumsy. They rushed to the front door, desperate for the escape of the open road. But when they threw it open, something was terribly wrong. The street wasn't their street anymore. It was longer. It stretched into the foggy distance, seemingly endless. The houses on either side repeating like a bizarre reflection in a funhouse mirror. Every single house had the same decorations, the same grinning pumpkins, the same flickering porch lights. "Ethan," Clara whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's looping. The whole street is looping." They stepped outside anyway, a desperate gamble. The cold air hit them like a physical blow, sharp and damp. As if on cue, the faint laughter of children started up again, carried on the fog. But this time, it didn't sound right. It was slower, warped, as if the recording of a happy memory was being played backward, twisting it into something monstrous. A small group of trick-or-treaters appeared at the corner, their silhouettes small and jerky against the fog. One of them turned its head, a slow, unnatural rotation. But there was no face beneath the mask, just an empty, black void with 2 dark holes where eyes should have been. Clara grabbed Ethan's hand, her grip like a vice. "Let's go back. Please, let's just go back inside." They spun around, but their house was gone. In its place stood another identical street, a mirror image of the one before them. The same house, same porch, same row of glowing pumpkins. Everywhere they looked, Halloween had copied and pasted itself. A perfect, inescapable loop frozen at the same terrifying second in time. Suddenly, the porch lights on every house blinked twice in unison. And then, everything went black. The world was plunged into an absolute, suffocating darkness. Silence descended, so profound it felt like pressure against their eardrums. Then, a faint creaking sound broke the stillness. The groan of old wood bending, of floorboards shifting under an unseen weight. Ethan raised his flashlight, his hand shaking, and swept the beam down the street. The light caught something. A figure standing at the far end of the road. A scarecrow. It hadn't been there before. Its tattered, straw-stuffed head tilted slightly, an impossible gesture, turning toward them. And though it had no eyes, they knew, with a certainty that chilled them to the bone. It was watching. The air grew thick, heavy, and the pumpkins around them began to glow again, one by one. The light of each jack-o'-lantern ignited in a deliberate sequence, creating a flickering path that led them deeper into the repeating street. Clara's whisper was tight with fear. It's leading us somewhere." Ethan shook his head, his own voice a strained rasp. "No, it's trapping us." From behind them, the voice from the television returned, but this time it wasn't a whisper. It was a clear, urgent command, booming through the silent street. "Keep the lights on. Don't let the dark touch you." Panic took over. They ran. They ran from the voice, from the scarecrow, from the endless, repeating houses. The lights of the pumpkins flickered faster and faster, a strobe effect that disoriented them as the fog swirled and thickened, swallowing the road ahead. At the very end of the street, where the illusion should have broken, a single house stood apart from the rest. Its windows were completely dark, no festive lights, no glowing pumpkins, just a black, silent void. They approached it slowly, their breath catching in their throats. Clara pointed a trembling finger at the door. Carved crudely into the wood were 3 words: "Enter to remember." She turned to Ethan, her eyes wide with a terrifying mix of dread and hope. This wasn't here before. He swallowed hard, the cold metal of the doorknob seeming to burn his skin even before he touched it. Maybe it's the way out. But as he reached for the handle, the door creaked open on its own, swinging inward to reveal nothing but impenetrable darkness. And from within that black abyss, a voice whispered, a voice that was both strange and horrifyingly familiar. It was his own voice to him from the void. Welcome home. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe, and whatever you do, keep the lights on. Ethan woke up, but not to the gentle light of dawn. Instead, it was the soft, rhythmic tapping of rain against the window pane. The world outside was still draped in the eerie glow of Halloween lights, a stubborn orange refusing to yield to the morning. He glanced at the clock on the wall. Its digital face blinked insistently, frozen again at 11:59 p.m. A cold realization washed over him as he whispered into the dim room. It's still Halloween. He reached for Clara, but her side of the bed was empty, the sheets disturbingly cold. A faint, repetitive tune drifted up from downstairs. It was the old radio, the one they rarely used, now stuck playing the same Halloween song over and over again. As he swung his legs out of bed, every creak of the old wooden floorboards seemed to amplify, echoing in the unnatural quiet of the house. He felt like an intruder in his own home. Down in the living room, the pumpkins they'd carved just last night were glowing again, their flames impossibly alive. But something was wrong. Their faces had changed. The simple, goofy grins were gone. Another drooped in sadness. A third was wide-eyed with surprise. And then he saw it. The last one. It bore a perfect, uncanny copy of Clara's gentle smile. A shiver traced its way down his spine. In response, the smiling pumpkin flickered, its light intensifying for a brief moment. A faint sound, like a sigh carried on the wind, seemed to emanate from it. "Ethan, can you hear me?" His breath hitched in his throat. It was her voice, unmistakably hers. Just as the words registered, the house plunged into darkness. The lamps, the streetlights, everything went out, leaving only the disembodied orange glows of the pumpkins. Then the whispers started. "Ethan. Ethan." He stumbled backward, a knot of fear tightening in his stomach. "Stop it. Please stop," he begged the empty air. A sudden, brilliant flash of lightning lit up the world outside. For a split second, a figure was visible in the yard, tall, still, and silent, its face concealed behind a blank, pale Halloween mask. Then darkness returned, and the figure was gone. The silence that followed was shattered by a single, deliberate knock at the front door, then another, and another. His heart pounded against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. With trembling hands, he crept toward the door and slowly, cautiously pulled it open. Standing on the porch was a man in a dark raincoat, soaked through by the unending drizzle. Ethan frowned, suspicion overriding his fear for a moment. "Who are you?" The stranger offered a faint, unsettling smile. "Just someone who never left last Halloween." The air grew colder, biting at Ethan's exposed skin. The pumpkins on the porch seemed to burn brighter in the man's presence, and for a terrifying instant it looked as if tiny flames were dancing within them. "She lit the last pumpkin," the man said, his voice a low, chilling whisper. "Now it can't go out." Panic seized Ethan. He slammed the door shut and threw the deadbolt, his back pressed against the wood, his body trembling uncontrollably. The radio crackled back to life, static mixing with a quiet, insidious laughter that seemed to mock his terror. The pumpkins glowed brighter and brighter, casting long, distorted shadows that writhed on the walls. The entire room began to shimmer in an oppressive orange fog. He couldn't breathe. He had to get out. He turned and fled, rushing up the stairs, taking them two at a time. He burst into the bedroom, gasping for air. His eyes fell on the large mirror above the dresser. Fog, appearing from nowhere, was swirling across its surface, coalescing into words, like a ghostly finger writing a message just for him. Dawn to blow them out. He reached out a shaky hand and wiped the condensation from the glass, and froze. His own reflection stared back, wide-eyed and terrified. Standing just behind him in the reflection was Clara. Her expression was unnervingly calm, almost kind. She leaned forward, her ghostly lips near his ear, and whispered, "It's not over yet. The night hasn't finished." Then, as quickly as she had appeared, her reflection faded, leaving him alone once more in the silent, empty room. Drawn by an unseen force, Ethan moved to the window and looked out. A wave of dread washed over him. It wasn't just his house. Every porch on the street, every window, every jack-o'-lantern in the entire neighborhood was burning with an impossible, vibrant intensity. The Halloween glow wasn't fading. A horrified whisper escaped his lips. "What have we done?" As if in answer, the radio voice returned from downstairs, no longer static-filled or mocking, but soft, gentle, almost welcoming. Midnight never ends in this town of lights. And with those final haunting words, all the pumpkins, in his house, on his street, across the entire town, dimmed in perfect unison, pulsing once like a single colossal heartbeat. Then, absolute silence. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilling journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Let me know in the comments what you think happened next. Stay safe and see you in the next one. Ethan woke with a shiver, not from the cold, but from the hard, unforgiving surface beneath him. Cold, wooden floorboards pressed into his cheek, the rough grain a stark contrast to the memory of his warm bed. The air hung heavy and damp, a peculiar mixture of smoke and melting candle wax stinging his nostrils. He pushed himself up, his muscles protesting. But this wasn't his bedroom. This wasn't his house. Windows were dark, hollow eyes staring into the oppressive fog. Pumpkins still dotted the porches, but their cheerful grins were now grimaces, their internal glow faint and sputtering, like the last embers of a dying fire. The fog, thicker than he'd ever seen it, coiled and writhed around each doorway, a living, breathing mist that seemed to suffocate the world. A single name escaped his lips, a desperate whisper swallowed by the silence. "Clara?" No answer. He called her name again, this time louder, a plea sent into the void. The only reply was the dry, rustling whisper of the wind as it danced with dead leaves across the asphalt. Far down the road, a splash of color against the monochromatic gloom. She was standing right in front of their house, her silhouette unmistakable, still adorned in the dress she'd worn just... when was it? Hours ago? A surge of adrenaline and relief propelled him forward. He ran, shouting her name over and over, his voice raw with a desperate hope that felt fragile in the crushing stillness. But as he drew closer, the horrifying truth began to dawn. He reached her, his hand outstretched only to find she wasn't real. It was Clara, but not his Clara. This was a grotesque effigy, her form sculpted from wax. Her skin was unnaturally smooth, reflecting the dying pumpkin light with a sickening sheen. Her eyes, once full of life, were hollow voids, glowing with a faint malevolent orange from within. Her lips, perfect and unmoving, began to part. A voice, her voice but distorted and ethereal, echoed not from her, but from everywhere at once. "The night isn't over, Ethan. It never was." He stumbled backward, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. The world around him shimmered, an unstable mirage. The houses flickered, blinking between states of decay and their former Halloween glory. One moment, they were dark, skeletal frames. The next, they were ablaze with lights, adorned with cheerful decorations. Playing itself. Halloween was starting all over again. The street, once deserted, filled with the ghosts of celebration. Children's laughter, high-pitched and carefree, echoed from the shadows. Footsteps pattered on the pavement, a phantom parade marching to a silent beat. The distant strains of party music began to loop, a maddening, endless melody. Ethan clamped his hands over his ears, a scream tearing from his throat, but the cacophony only intensified, a symphony of a night that refused to die. Through the chaos, a new voice emerged, whispering right beside him. He turned, his breath catching in his throat, the one he and Clara had built together. It stood beside him now, its burlap face half hidden by shadow, the candlelight from a nearby pumpkin flickering beneath its mask, giving the illusion of a sinister life. "You lit every light," it rasped, its voice like dry corn husks rubbing together. "You made Halloween perfect." The scarecrow tilted its head, a gesture that was unnervingly human. "It can stop," it whispered, leaning closer. As if on cue, the candles around them began to extinguish. One by one, with a soft, final hiss, their flames were snuffed out. The encroaching fog greedily swallowed the light, the houses, the street, until all that remained was Ethan, the scarecrow, and a single burning pumpkin at his feet. Within the warm glow of that last pumpkin, he saw her. Clara's face, her real face this time, materialized in the flickering heart of the flame. She was smiling, a faint, sad smile that broke his heart all over again. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice a delicate echo from inside the light. "Don't let it fade. Please." Her voice, her essence, trapped within its fiery core. Then, down the street, a miracle. One by one, the other pumpkins flickered back to life. Their combined orange glow cut through the darkness, forming a path, a runway leading straight to the front door of their home. He walked, his steps slow and trembling, each footfall a heavy weight. He followed the path of light, the scarecrow a silent shadow at his back. When he finally reached the porch, he saw something new, something that made the blood freeze in his veins. Carved into the wooden doorframe, as if by a burning finger, was his own name, Ethan. And just below it, a new line was etching itself into the wood, glowing like a fresh brand. "Welcome to the next Halloween." He could hear sounds from within the house, not the silence of decay, but the sounds of life. The gentle melody of dinner music, Clara's laughter. His hand, shaking uncontrollably, reached for the doorknob. Inside was not an abandoned home, but a scene frozen in time. The dining table was set exactly as he remembered, the same candles casting a warm, inviting glow, the same half-eaten meal waiting on their plates. And there, sitting at the table, was Clara. She looked up from her plate, her smile as beautiful and real as it had ever been. "You're late," she said softly, her voice a gentle chide. "Dinner's getting cold." Ethan stepped across the threshold, his body trembling with a mixture of terror and a desperate, illogical hope. "Clara, what day is it?" Her smile widened, but this time it didn't quite reach her eyes. They held a timeless, knowing look. "It's October 31st, she answered, her voice as sweet as honey and as final as a tombstone. "Forever." Thank you so much for joining me on this terrifying trip into a never-ending night. If you enjoyed this story and want more tales that will keep you up at night, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new nightmare. Until next time, stay safe and maybe think twice about making your Halloween too perfect.